everyone. Today I'm doing a review of the Evernew titanium alcohol stove. It's brand new on the market. I haven't found any reviews on it yet. Thought I'd do one. Not a lot of information. It's only been out about 3 weeks, maybe a month. So I just thought I'd give you my impressions. First of all, I'd like to start off by saying this stove is part of a whole system. It's called the DX system. Evernew hasn't released the other components yet, but it's going to be a pot stand and a windscreen. And if you buy the Appalachian set, it also comes with a cook pot, all sized to work together. And I can't wait to get a hold of those and try them out. They should be out the end of February or beginning of March of 2010. So this stove has a few features I really like. It's made by Evernew. They make titanium cookware and hydration bladders and a few other things, and all their equipment is top-notch, and I wouldn't expect anything less. And I'm not disappointed. I really like the way they put together this stove. So this stove is similar to the Trangia stove in design. I don't know if that's where Evernew got their inspiration, but it has a few differences. One of them being this row of jets around the base. It helps smooth out the flame pattern when the stove is burning. I think it has a real nice pattern under a cook pot. The other thing it doesn't have is a screw cap. It obviously wouldn't work with these jets, and it's not a deal breaker for me since I really like to burn my stoves completely out of fuel. I don't want to have to worry about a cap leaking in my pack. I'd rather store my fuel in the fuel bottle and burn the stove out when I'm done cooking. That being said, I've had a chance to use the stove without its components, and I'm pleased with its performance. This stove weighs in at 1.3 ounces on my scale. It has measurements inside at 1 ounce, 2 ounces, and 2.37 ounces, which is full capacity. That's an added bonus that I really like. So down to brass tacks. How did this stove perform? I've done about 3 weeks worth of bench tests. Here in the workshop, 62 degrees, using cold tap water, bringing 16 ounces of water to a boil with each test. I started with the Stanco grease pot. That's just the pot that I start with when I do my baseline tests every time. Gives me a means of comparing it to other stoves. And we used a wire mesh pot stand, 4 rows high. I was trying my best guess at approximating the height of the DX set. I don't know if I actually got the height or not, but that height worked very well with this stove. So we started off, and with the first boil, 1 ounce of fuel. The stove primed in 32 seconds on average. Not bad, pretty good time for prime. But the boil wasn't all that spectacular. It was 8.5 minutes to a rolling boil with that grease pot. So I went and I did a bunch of tests, and I said it's all right. It's not great. 8.5 minutes is about as long as I'm going to wait to boil water. I just want to boil water when I'm hiking. I'm not cooking any gourmet meals. I just want to boil water, and I want to do it as fast as I can. So that's about as long as I'm willing to wait before I start looking at other stoves. So when it came time to shoot video, I decided, I'm going to shoot it with the Evernew pot. Evernew makes a cook pot, a 1.3 liter ultralight pot. Why not shoot that combo together and make for some nice video? But I didn't want to do that before I burned the stove with that pot to see how it did. I just thought it was going to be about the same. Well, I was in for a big surprise. 1 ounce of fuel, 16 ounces of water, 1.3 liter Evernew titanium pot. We got a 7-minute boil. So it was a minute and a half quicker than the aluminum grease pot. I'm guessing this is because the titanium pot is thinner than the grease pot. I mean, that's my best guess. So actual boil times, when the smoke cleared, how did the stove do? With 16 ounces of water in the grease pot, 8.5 minutes. With 16 ounces of water in the 1.3 liter titanium pot, 7 minutes, a minute and a half faster. I went to 32 ounces of water, again in the grease pot, 13 minutes. to boil a quart of water. Not bad. Then we went to the titanium pot, and it boiled it in 10 minutes. That's pretty good. If you can boil a quart of water in 10 minutes, I think that's reasonable for an alcohol stove. Then after that, we went outside. What's it do in the real world? It's nice to test these stoves indoors on the workbench. What did it do outside? At a 36-degree day, we used the 4-row pot stand, the 1.3-liter pot, a 5-inch windscreen, and the stove primed in 40 seconds in 36-degree weather, and was able to bring 16 ounces of water to a boil in 7.5 minutes. It was only a half a minute slower outside in 36-degree weather. So, I was pretty impressed with that. I thought that was pretty good. That's about as good as your average stove is going to do, maybe a little better. So, another neat thing I discovered about this stove is you can use it without a pot stand. You can actually put your cook pot directly on top, and it'll still boil your water. It just boils a little slower. It's just as efficient. It'll still boil 16 ounces of water with 2/3 of an ounce of fuel, but instead of 7 minutes, it takes 12 minutes. Neat thing about that is, if you're the type of person, your big gripe with alcohol stoves has been you can't really simmer too well. Well, this stove can pull double duty. You could use the pot stand, get it to a rolling boil, throw your pasta in, return it to a boil, and then get rid of the pot stand and put the pot directly on the stove, and it slows that boil down. So you can get the water boiling and then cook your pasta or your rice or your macaroni or whatever you're making. I thought that was kind of neat. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that on some of the backpacking forums, I see people talking about this stove and complaining about the price. It's a little over $45. They say, oh, it's just an alcohol stove. I can make one. Yeah. Yes and no. It's an alcohol stove, but it's actually a quality piece of gear. If you're going to buy a canister stove, it seems that we don't have a problem plopping down $45 for an MSR or Brunton canister stove. And if you buy a white gas stove, you're going to pay 2 to 3 times that amount. This is not a pop can stove. This is made by Evernew. It's a quality product. They've taken the time to build a nice stove. If you take care of it, you'll have it for a lifetime. It's not something that you're gonna make for $1 or $2, and after it burns out in a year or two, you're gonna throw it in the trash. You'll have this to pass on to your kids. It's a quality piece of gear, manufactured from titanium. Shouldn't ever burn out, and it's got the Evernew name, and they'll stand behind their products. Buy a pop can from Joe Blow, he might or might not stand behind it. Buy an alcohol stove from Evernew, they're going to back it up. They've got the experience working with titanium, and they make a nice product. So that's my review of the Evernew titanium alcohol stove. I hope it's been helpful. I appreciate you watching. Happy trails.